Show's Leafs Hour brought to you by Drive Auto Group, fueled by customer expectations. Ben Ennis, JD Bunkis, and Justin Bourne in studio on a Monday. What's going on, Bourne?
That song's too upbeat. I'm just sick of it.
I know.
It's such a positive, happy song. We're talking with the Leafs here. This is supposed to be a miserable trudge of
Can I just tell you
fandom.
what is most miserable for me, though, is not even that they lost those games and it's against bad teams, because this is so boring. I don't think that the Leafs are as bad as some people want to make them out to be. I don't think they're as good as some people want to make them out to be. I just think that they're a talented team that's wildly inconsistent.
We're pretty sure they're not good.
Yeah,
No.
I'm pretty sure they're not good.
They have the exact same point total, exact same games played as like the Calgary Flames, who they have talent as well. Like there's a bunch of teams just like the Toronto Maple Leafs.
No, the extreme roller coaster of going and acting as though they are one of the league's elite teams to one of the league's worst teams is just exhausting to me. I come in here some days and I still have enthusiasm to watch the games. I like watching hockey, and I
couldn't not watch now.
I know I've done the thing with friends privately every once in a while where I'm like, I'm not even gonna watch tonight. I'm just so sick of it. It's 10 o'clock on a Friday. I'm not gonna watch the Ducks play. I'm not wasting my time. And then 3 periods later,
12:42, and you're soaking.
I'm like, oh, here we are again.
How did they get here again?
I'm exhausted by the roller coaster ride of it all. I think that to me, let me just ask you that. To me, it's obvious. It's obvious. Is it obvious to you, or are you really? There's this idea that it's so perplexing. Oh, there's such a perplexing group. I can't put my finger on it. And if we knew and we had the magic solution, it's like, yeah, you don't have any depth. Your blue line stinks. You've got an erratic goaltending for a lot of the season, and you have stars who, frankly, are really, really good, but they're not ready to play consistent hockey. And some of them disappear sometimes, and because they disappear, they're prone to colder streaks.
And that has been the Leafs show for the year.
But what am I
you're
missing
right.
here?
I'm not making fun. I'm saying you're right.
Yeah.
That is it.
Like it's not that hard.
I was actually thinking on the way in of the phrase they're predictably unpredictable.
Yeah.
Like every time they going into this trip, like we talked about it on our show at noon, it's just like this is like the time, the schedule when you could see they could conceivably take some time off here. Like it's not great teams. It's in California. They just had some wins. Boy, it's predictable. It's
not
predictable.
one lead.
No one, there's never that maturity to like take a game that should be just taken. And I know that actually, like, out of my mouth hearing that sounds like fan griping, but like it would be tough to counter that. That's just the reality of this team.
This is why it gets so frustrating, though, when people try to put it on one solitary thing. It was my problem when Babcock was here. It's my problem with the whole goaltending thing that I lost my mind about last Monday. It's my problem when I hear people say it's the blue line. It's my problem when people say it's because, Marner is overpaid. It's just that all of these things come together as to why this team hasn't been this way. It hasn't lived up to expectations. It's not one thing. If it was one thing, they would have been able to figure it out. They would have papered over it at the deadline. They actually did make one of the most consequential moves I think that the team could have possibly made in addressing the backup goaltending situation. And hey, guess what? They're still only 3 points up on Florida, with the Panthers having a game in hand to miss the playoffs this year in a season where they had Stanley Cup aspirations. Like, there's a lot going on with this team that's a problem, and it's going to take more than, I think, just a shrewd move during the offseason to fix it. It's going to be a lot of things, including the maturity of the group. Yes, addressing the blue line, making sure that your goalies play better. Like, it's all of these things, making sure your coaching staff isn't stuck between systems and that they have a full offseason to kind of evaluate their talent. It's a lot. It's not easy to me. And that's probably the thing that pisses me off the most, is that everyone tries to make it into like, what is the one thing when it's a lot?
Yeah.
Which is probably bad.
It was much worse.
Yeah, you take it one thing at a time. I think the scariest idea, though, would be that there is just something rotten with the core of this team, that you kind of alluded to, that can't be fixed, that it like needs to, like, a stick of dynamite in the middle of this thing.
Yeah, that to your point. No, I agree. That's the scariest thing. That when you sit back and you can't explain why your team lost, you go, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Like, what if it's the one thing that can't be wrong? Like, that is the one thing in this whole structure of building this team and the way they've gone about it. You cannot miss on that core. And for the record, that's not even like a managerial thing. Like, if this group of people, they were the right people. They drafted the right players at the position in the draft when they got them in the years they had those picks. it may just work out that those people are not the people. And that's the biggest fear. For the record, I do not think that is the case. I absolutely think you can win with that group as your core. But the way that it's gone since then, and part of it is the dragging out of every dollar for every guy, where all of a sudden you have to save $150,000 on a backup goaltender in the offseason. All of a sudden you can't hang on to Tyler Ennis because he's a little out of the range. All of a sudden Connor Brown has to go. All of a sudden things look thin.
This is what Ben and I talked about to lead the show.
Right.
Is that the thing that's looking more and more obvious to me right now is that Mitch Marner is eating up $2 million more than he should. And that $2 million really could have gone to either another forward who would have provided some scoring punch so that you're not playing Dennis Malgin.
2's a lot, by the way, but
yeah. I think it's 2.
I mean, regardless, you were never going to get him at 8 point whatever.
Yeah, and that's
you weren't going to get him at 10 either, apparently.
That's their failure. Yeah. Like that. I'm sorry, but that's on everyone. That's not just on. I'd be comfortable
calling it at least $1 million, though.
Yeah. Here's what I will tell you: that man, $11 million for a guy who is not really producing at 5-on-5 recently, and who, I said earlier that he's kind of most noticeable recently on the penalty kill, which is bad. Like, you don't want your $11 million guy popping on the penalty kill and few other areas of the game. And I've been told by others where it's like, oh, well, Matthews is having this 50-goal season. Yeah, how much of that? How many Matthews goals have I seen where it's like, oh, wow, that was a mark? This isn't last year with Tavares.
I wouldn't even do that with Matthews because, that is, hey, man, there have been times where they've connected. I would just say, like, where's the difference in Matthews? Like, Matthews is healthy this season. Yeah. He's putting up the totals.
Absolutely.
Since he stepped foot on an NHL ice surface, and he scored 4 goals against the Ottawa Senators. He's had the most 5-on-5 goals in the National Hockey League. Yeah. So it's really hard to make that argument.
That's true. And
he played with Connor Brown and Zach Hyman, and he was like, I'm also on pace to do this.
Yeah. You know what a concerning factor, just another storyline is for
Tell
me?
us what's concerning.
Is it seems like the one guy who was going to be impervious to Toronto media and was going to float on a pink cloud of local hometown hero Mitch Marner, it seems to be just sucking the life out of him.
This is your fault.
Is it mine?
No, his.
Oh, I thought you did say your fault, too.
No,
he said your fault, like as in you were talking to Mitch Marner.
Very accusatory.
I don't want to go back over this. And I don't know where this is actually going to be played, but we were told the other day that Katie Nolan was sniping a clip from us talking about hometown discounts for her show, from our show.
And the Sportsnet was like, no, go right ahead. And we're like, so is it positive, negative? Like, are we going to be ripped?
I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, the people that she has no idea about using that anonymous clip on her show, I'm sure it's,
I would like to just say, if it maybe helps the way it's played, she's fantastic.
She is fantastic.
I'm not complimenting her until I see the clip. I will reserve judgment on how I feel about Katie Nolan until we see how.
I think Dave Loza writes for her. He's fantastic too.
Anyway,
great.
This is it. Hockey players historically, and everyone. It isn't even just hockey players. Like, it goes from the NFL to the NBA. NBA is kind of the one place where guys don't do it, because if you are the best player on the team, it's impossible to take less. Like, LeBron James is actually worth so much more than what he's worth in that salary cap league. It's ridiculous, right? You're not asking.
People say he's worth like 60 or 70 a year.
He changes Cleveland's economy. Like, it's a real
not a joke.
Yeah,
really does.
It's a real thing. So you can't have him take less. But in football and in hockey, guys take less money. They don't generally try to push it to their very maximum value and then are looked at when they struggle and say, hey, did you do everything to win? It's like, yeah, I'm sorry, but this is a lot on Mitch Marner trying to maximize his value. He literally took every cent that they could make available to him that they could open up with the salary cap.
Consider the McDavid thing, too, about how they leaked that he took $1 million less. And they agreed to 13.5. He said, no, make it 12.5. Whether that happened or not, agents have some awareness of the public perception of these guys. Oh, now McDavid, yes, he is worth that and more, but he is trying to win. He is doing good for the team.
Yeah. Anyways, I don't think Marner's the biggest problem with the team. I think that you're running it back next year. You can't possibly trade one of your core pieces unless you are getting another core piece back.
Yeah, it's not you're just the benefit is not just opening up some more salary.
Yeah, you're not trading Mitch Marner to bring back like more depth. Think of those trades historically. Like, we traded Joe Thornton and we got Marco Sturm and I can't even remember who else was in that deal now. It's like Brad Stewart.
Yeah.
It was like, you don't do those trades. History will tell you that that's how you make horrible mistakes. is trading star players for depth. It's easier to acquire depth in other ways than by trading away star players.
And as these guys get older and better, the cap gets farther away. There's more room to build around them. It gets.
Although next year, all of that, say the cap goes up to $88 million, right? Well, they've extended Muzzin, and they gave Hall an extra, 1 point. I think it's going to be 1.5 or something around there. They're going to have to give Dermott a little bit more. You're going to see a Mikheyev extension. It just, all of that extra money that you think you're having when you're looking at it and saying, well, not really. It's not really going to be there. You're losing Tyson Barrie. Well, he's only making 2.5 on your cap this season. This isn't like he's a big contract that's moving off you.
What's crazy is the Cody Ceci being out was like, yeah, $4.5 million. Ceci's not that great, but like, what do you do when you don't have him? Like,
totally.
It's
that we this is something maybe we'll talk about later on the show. But the idea that Dermott is just going to magically solve one of your problems on the right side when he's been bad most of the season on the left side in sheltered minutes is like a really big leap for me when it comes to what people think is going to happen with him. But yeah, right now when I'm watching this Leafs team, if they're not getting anything from their top six, if those guys have a night where they're not all the way there, and I'll be honest, it's kind of unreasonable to expect that. I'm sure Merrick's told you this story before on a show, but that once a great player once told him that, guys show up for less games in an 82-game regular season or have their A game far less than fans expect them to. Yeah. And whatever, that's just fan perception, but you can't ask guys in the NHL to bring it every single night and be elite. They're just going to have nights where they're not all the way there. The problem is that everyone after 5 in that Leafs forward group has been, I would say, Jason Spezza has been solid, but he's still Jason Spezza. Like, you're not like, oh man, Spezza should be the heartbeat of this team some nights. They don't have the forward groups, the guys that are there that you really thought they were going to be able to identify.
Your depth guys that you thought that was going to carry you through, as in Kerfoot, Kapanen, and Johnsson, you've been like, eh.
Yeah, Johnsson hasn't been here. Kerfoot's been, I would say, among the biggest disappointments of this team this season. And Kapanen has been better, but still the season on
much better of late.
Season
13
on a whole,
goals.
Yeah, season on a whole is tough. And then you got a fourth line where you're like, yeah, you're still throwing Freddie Gauthier out there. What do you expect?
Yeah, the Gauthier thing it just keeps happening, huh? No, I know that is the reality. And of course, like every team, you say it looks better when you get Ilya Mikheyev in the mix, and it looks better when Andreas Johnsson's healthy. But the problem is that they were so up against it again with the way the cap is built that there's no help or support there. The Kerfoot thing is concerning, by the way. Beyond what he hasn't been great because he's extended for 3 more seasons. He's now played more time on the wing with John Tavares than he's played center for the Maple Leafs. Mm-hmm. So alongside elite line mates, and he's on pace for like 36 points.
No, he does nothing.
It's really tough to feel like, I don't know, that's working out.
Yeah, so this is like there's off-season questions that we were kind of dance around, but yeah, we'll have lots of shows where we can do that. What are the immediate solutions or attempted solutions for this team right now? I mean, there's a lot of discussion about breaking up those top 2 lines, like mixing with the forwards.
Shuffle the deck chairs there. Yeah, absolutely.
Does that change anything for you?
It does. I feel like you guys make a good point that I don't think Marner provides something to Matthews offensively that he can't get from someone else. Also, William Nylander might be the best player on the team for the last however many games.
He and Matthews have been proven to be really, really good together. In fact, actually better than Marner and Matthews.
So you can make that switch. A bigger thing to me is that the power play has been garbage.
Yeah.
It's been garbage for like a month at least.
The last power play goal was, against the Lightning, I want to say?
Yeah, it's been some time. And so Marner said something like, everyone's just waiting for Mats to shoot. They're all waiting on Matty to shoot. So me and Barry are trying to shoot more. And I'm just like, no, don't do that.
Those are the worst options.
Yeah, so when I look at the best power plays in hockey, I think about something the coaching staff, Sheldon Keefe and his guys, used to call interchangeable parts, which is that there's 5 positions to play, and we don't care who plays them. And you watch the way the Boston Bruins are in the power play. They'll roll from flank guy to up top. That D-man will then roll with the bottom guy and end up in front of the net for a bit until it's comfortable for him to work his way up. All those parts move interchangeably. They don't care who's where. So there's some fluidity to the whole thing. With the Leafs, it's like very rigid. Like, here's Matthews, here's Marner, here's Barry. They stand there until what? Like, there doesn't seem to be any sort of like confusion for the D. The guys just it's very stationary. It looks very stagnant to me.
It's just that if you think about it, they all make sense in the spots they're in, though.
Sure. But at the same time, there needs to be, you saw Matthews play the offside for most of last season at times. We know he can play on the other side. So I just think the predictability right now of where they are is a little too easy.
Yeah, there's lots we like about Sheldon Keefe, and there's lots that we're still learning about him, and you know him better than most. But yeah, I thought and maybe we'll see this, and maybe it's just he needs to a longer sample before he does something. But yeah, the flexibility, the changing of things, the real, hey man, let's throw this thing in a blender. What's happening isn't working. We got to back off of this. And I know we're a possession team, but maybe a couple more dump and chases because everybody's keying on us.
What's the line between reactive and flexibility?
Yeah, you don't want to be a guy that's just like, hey, flying by the seat of the pants, and you have no foundational beliefs.
Right. You start to tinker with those types of things where you're like, hey, what we're about is possession. And now you're like, well, maybe let's dump it in a little bit more. Yeah. All of a sudden, guys are like, huh.
What are we doing here? And then Matthews made the comment about being 1 foot in, 1 foot out on systems or whatever.
Right. But what are you seeing? Are you seeing a team that is like other teams are realizing there's a certain way to play against them and they're one-dimensional, and if you can take away that one thing, you got a better shot against them, and maybe there's an adjustment that needs to take place?
I don't know. I feel like you can still play the way that Sheldon wants him to play with that possession game while being responsible defensively. We've seen him put it together once in a while. I get the impression on this California trip, they said, the teams are going to play can't score. They're like 28th, 29th, and 30th in the league in scoring. We score more than anyone in the NHL. Tampa Bay, maybe is the Tide or whatever. But so here's what we're going to do. We're not going to take chances. We're going to be on the right side of the puck. We're going to play positionally sound. We're going to get ours. They didn't get theirs.
Yeah, the one part of that actually did look pretty good for stretches.
Yeah.
Like the San Jose game, there was some real brutal stuff. Like that was a bad game. I wouldn't say the other two were bad games. Anaheim, they were slow starters. I'm not trying to make excuses for them here. Obviously, there's some parts. Some people want them to just be amazing all the time, and if they're not, they're like, "Oh, you blew it." And it's like, okay, well, they played a really good third period. They didn't get any results. They got shut down by one of the best goalies in the league. But yeah, you probably should have a better effort. But yes, I have noticed that the team defense has looked a lot better over these last 3 games. I wonder if they keep doing it this way, if it's actually going to play out for them, because that's kind of what it feels like happened after the pivot point.
This didn't sell the players, right? The players didn't get rewarded for doing it right. So they're going to be like,
if they had won. Yeah, and all it takes is like a couple of times, like they've had power play opportunities, right? Like we've gone through stretches where it's like 0 power plays, 1 power play. They've had games over that stretch. I think they had 3 in the Kings game, and they go 0 for. If they score just, if they produce at their season averages on the power play, which is a top 5 power play team, you are coming away with a couple of 2-1 victories or a 3-2 win, and that just didn't happen. So yeah. Hard to see.
The one thing that Kyle Dubas never wanted anyone to get stuck on was like a moment, like a particular gaffe where you're like, oh, that guy's terrible, and it's all you can think about instead of like losing track of all the other things that happened with that player in the game. I cannot get Mitch Marner loading up a wrist shot. It takes like 4.5 seconds from when he decides to shoot to when it happens with the full hockey shot motion. It's just like, don't do that. It's so feeble. It just is such a source of frustration for me. I think old Paul McFarland there, he's got his work cut out for him to get these guys clicking again.
But that's the adjustment, right? It's like, oh, Mitch Marner doesn't shoot. Hey, shoot. But maybe not.
Yeah, it's kind of scary to me that
they don't defend Shaq out beyond the arc.
Take a 3.
But yeah, that's okay. This is what is, if we're going to do things that should be much better, and if things that should be able to be fixed right away, that's it, right? Should be the power play. Going into the season, this is the enforcer of the team, and it's been really good for some stretches, and overall the numbers are fine because they have the talent.
Yeah.
Here's the thing.
First in the NHL since Keith.
Yeah, they have Austin Matthews and John Tavares.
And Mitch Marner and William Nylander.
You should be top 5.
With no structure.
Yeah. Those guys should be able to go out there and wing it and be fine, and even if it's like, this is 2 years in a row now where we've looked at the power play and been like, what exactly is happening here? Like, this has been a point of conversation for a long-ass time. And there have been times where we've said, oh, okay, it's fixed, it's fine. They're just kind of rolling. Because when they do it, it's just so natural. It's so expected that you kind of dismiss it out of hand. But when it's bad, you look at it and try to say, well, it'll regulate, it'll be fine. It's not something that you can be concerned about. But really, again, 2 seasons where it's been a real topic of conversation as to why aren't these guys meeting or exceeding expectation with this group. Like, if there's one thing that you point to with this roster and say, what should be the thing they do best, better than any team in the NHL?
Well, they're heavily top-loaded offensively.
Yeah, it's the power play.
Yeah. And by the way, I bet if they were listening to this right now, they'd be like, we're top 5 in the NHL. And it's like, that's literally, to JD's point, that's exactly the expectation and no better.
That's the floor. It's yours.
Well, so this is a good jumping off point to talk about Mitch Marner and his internet search history, which apparently involves actually paying attention to trolls or people that are trying to communicate to him on Twitter or Instagram. Like, this is one of the major sticking points for Mitch Marner, talking about the disappointment of this 3-game California road trip. We have to stay off social media, which is like, yeah, okay. If I were a professional athlete, I'd never go on social media. But the fact that you're mentioning it makes me believe that you are on social media, that this is a thing you're thinking about.
And part of the concern there is that means, so when things are good, you can check social media, and then you get feeling really good about yourself and go to California and blow 3 games for the worst 3 teams. Like, just don't do it. Just don't have it.
My issue with this is the timing. I just don't want you to lose that game, collect 1 point as you're scrapping and clawing for the playoffs, and your concern is that the group stays off social media, that it's one of the first things that you think of after that game. I want, no offense, but I want you to kind of be LeBron Jamesing this thing where you can break down the entire game and what happened and what went wrong and how you can get better. And it's not the priority right now. This all comes with the obvious understanding that no one should be trolling these guys. No one should be tagging them.
No.
There's nothing more disgusting than seeing people online that just go after and viciously attack people.
But that's why I would never be on social media if I was a professional athlete.
I don't believe that that's a thing. I think that it's just, we're all just regular people who are addicted to our phones and who like being on Instagram.
Maybe you just have to follow other sports, like, golf and basketball follows. And,
no, but it's not even about that. It's about what you get tagged in and hitting that little bell, hitting that little update that says that you have been mentioned in these things. And I've talked about this with you guys before, I think privately and whatever, but your brain is accustomed to focusing on negative criticism more than it is positive feedback. It sticks with you longer. It's why, and all of us can relate to this, if you've ever been, attacked on any platform ever, you will remember something that someone said about you for a really long time. And I think it can weigh you down and it can bother you and you obsess over it. And you think about crafting response or you think about what you wish you could say to that person. And it's toxic. It's awful for you. Those guys deal with the same thing. It's awful. I don't want them to deal with that. It's brutal, brutal, brutal. And I think that that's such an easy line people draw that, they should just stay off their phones.
That's what I do.
I don't think it is. I don't think that people, it's so easy to be like, that's what I do. Oh, if I was rich, I'd give all my money to charity. Like, I just think
I wouldn't do that.
I know. I'm saying
that's not a thing.
People do those things, these exercises where they just get to take the easy way out and not live someone's life, but basically put what they would do onto it. When I don't think there's really any reason to believe you, Ben. I don't think
why?
Because
you're with me.
You believe Ben.
No,
Ben would do that. I would still have social media.
I would be all over social media.
I hate it. Listen, I don't post as much, and I probably check it more than I should now. And I'm on it a lot during games, and sometimes it takes me out of the game, which is a problem. Like I have problems with that.
If people are saying things about you, you want to hear what people are saying.
I don't. Like I mute so quickly. Yeah. I hate it. Like when the notifications
I
are
block
off,
idiots.
Like like anything. Like I don't want to hear your little criticisms that are even phrased in a way that's supposed to be helpful to me. I don't want any of that. I would have no problem collecting my almost $11 million a year and saying, "Hey, manager, you're in charge of my phone. Let me know if there's something I got to do." But I'm not doing this. I'm not creeping somebody's DMs.
I think you're underestimating too. That's another part of it.
You could operate purely by DMs. If you want to contact me on social media.
Yeah,
DM.
Guess what? You're still looking at DMs, and you have people who are sending you vicious things in direct messages. You're also, and this is
don't have open DMs.
I don't want to. Why not? You don't think that there's some of these guys
that's just the same thing as
sure.
Checking your mentions.
Just telling you. One of the ways that you date now is through these apps. It's just that's a thing that's going to happen for you. These guys can't go on Bumble or Hinge. What they are going to do is they're going.
They do.
I mean, maybe
Hinge is a new thing.
They're not. I'm just saying that what is more likely to happen is they're going to follow someone on Instagram, be looking through photos, and then be messaging with them and getting alerts on their phone. And what will come with that is that it's also a platform to be accessible by all the people who want to just spit on you and say vicious, vicious things about you online. It's horrible. It's not a thing that these guys should have to deal with. I wish that they could live in some type of a social media utopia where they could focus on just getting in people's DMs and just tag like in the same dog videos that we all like to watch on Instagram. Like that
dog couldn't catch a taco if he tried.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, man, I watch such a good dog. I watch good dog videos every day. It's really the only. If there's one thing social media has done for me, it's like I love dogs so much more than I ever thought I could possibly love dogs. I'm just saying that I think it's unavoidable for these guys. I think it's going to come with the territory. I think it's honestly, though, similar to not the degree or the magnitude, but of stuff that we do. Like, we have to deal with the same thing. The problem is that you do have to make adjustments. If you are someone like Ben and it bothers you to a horrible, horrible degree, you have to be able to make an adjustment and say, well, I'm going to limit my time on here. I'm going to have to just start muting something. I'm going to have to change my behaviors and my patterns on this because obviously it's weighing me down. But here's what I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear you talk about it preemptively after you lose to the Anaheim Ducks on a Friday night. Like, I don't want to hear it, man.
Can I tell you the two things that drive me crazy on Twitter? Like, if you want to ruin my night, any serious, like, earnest opinion that I put out there, if I just like, I think they need to regroup more in the power play, and someone responds and it starts with or even includes LOL about the opinion, and then they give their opinion. Like mine was so laughable that
doesn't even deserve it. It's like, you know what I'm laughing at. It's your opinion.
Also, calling something that is a genuine opinion of something a take. Like, a take is like an event that happened. We all have a different take on how it unfolded. That's not what you're doing when you're analyzing hockey. It's not a take. And it's frustrating to be reduced down to the worst qualities of sports media today, which is takery, which is just, Skip Bayless.
But we got everyone. It's so funny because I don't think that it's really a Canadian thing. I think it happens from time to time. People have a hot take or people go a little overboard or they over accentuate something. Maybe I think that we did a thing called Hot or Not, which was like we intentionally would make hot takes. Like, one of them was I wouldn't take Trae Young for free. Like, obviously, but we're playing that bit to a certain extent sometimes. Although we do it with the guise of an actual segment where you're supposed to know it's a hot take. Right. But generally, I don't think that's such a thing in this country. But people are so accustomed to also ingesting American media. And that those shows were such a focal point for some American networks and for social media in order for things to translate and go viral, that everyone kind of got painted with that brush, that's what we're all trying to do. And that's what media members are, is like people who just come up with takes. Like, you come up here and you have takes. It's like, no, we got into this because we're interested in sports. We're thoughtful about it. And then that translates into this medium. It's not that we got into this.
There's a hard opinion you might want to call a particular.
But yes, you're dead right. I can't stand it when people are like, "You're a hot take artist." You're a hot take artist. It's like I've
never said anything
count on one hand.
To get a rise.
Yeah, I can count on one hand times that I have like manufactured a take.
Yeah, and what happens?
You can disagree with my opinions. No. I'm not making takes.
Yeah, and I'm sure there are some of your opinions, JD, that people view as hot takes. But no, the man's just passionate about certain things. And if you heard the unfiltered show that could happen here for 3 hours, maybe you would think,
someday when I'm cut. Yeah.
Anyways, all right. Game notes.
Yeah.
All right. The game was on Friday. It's a long time ago. But yeah, Kyle Clifford was a nice addition.
Can I just say how cruel it is that they used to set up kids that you could send like a certain color flower to a person depending on like if you like them or a real crush.
We didn't have that.
There's like a candygram thing in school that was my high school anyway.
Different colored flowers.
Yeah, you send like a pink one to a friend that you liked or a red one to a girl that you were saying something to.
Yeah, I didn't have that either, but that seems like really intense.
Oh, it was awful.
Because like what they look at.
Send a bag of feces.
Anyway, sorry. Carry on with the Leaf stuff.
All right. Yeah, I was just gonna say, Kyle Clifford. It was the secondary aspect of that trade, and obviously they needed Jack Campbell, and he's been so damn good, and he picked up 5 of the first 6 points. And the Leafs are not in a playoff spot if they don't pick him up at that time, and was great again on Friday. But Kyle Clifford's been everything you wanted out of him and more. It's like every game you look at the box score and it's like 6, 7 hits, taking on Nicolas Delorier. And yeah, he's just...
I don't know why they're not playing him on the second line at this point. Like, to me, he's actually the most obvious solution. If they're not going to play Spezza because they don't think that he can handle the minutes night in, night out, which I think is totally fair, then put Kyle Clifford up there, because here's what I will tell you with all certainty is that he is better than Dennis Malgin.
Yeah, no, man.
You want Kerfoot playing down the middle, right?
Yeah.
So he's not going there anymore. Engvall, for whatever reason it is, Keefe trusts him 1 second and then thinks he's big, treats him like he's the least trustworthy player on the team the next. Clifford, just to me, is consistent. I don't know why he can't play a role with that line.
It just seems like a lot of minutes and a lot of, I don't know.
But you're playing Dennis Malgin.
Well, so you know what's crazy with this Leafs team is how many people they've extended a chance to and said, all right, we're going to put you with the big dogs. Let's just see. Cappy, you get to play with the big dogs. Let's see. Let's see if it works out for Nick Patan. Let's see if it works out for Pierre Engvall. Let's see if it works out for Kerfoot. Why is there, Janssen is the best of the players who have played in that position by far. But all these different guys that they're like, gosh, if you just give this kid a chance to play, he'll succeed. No one has taken that ball and run with it.
It should be easy.
I have a nerd note.
Oh, good.
I can't remember what I've talked about this with you before in the past or something like that. So Leafs are chasing the game against Anaheim. There's 9 minutes left, and the Ducks take a penalty behind the Leafs net. The Leafs try and maintain possession to get the extra skater out on the ice, try to go down the ice and gain the zone. They end up burning, like, I want to say 45 seconds off the clock. You're losing time. You would get a turnover that gets you an offensive zone faceoff. You're chasing the game. You need as much time on the clock as possible. Why isn't it common practice that the second that you're trailing a game, especially late, that you wouldn't turn the puck over immediately to gain the offensive zone, get your best players on the ice, and start your power play with immediacy?
The logic behind it would just be that you're extending the length of power play you get. Instead of, when the whistle goes, you're 5-on-4. Right now you get to be 6-on-5, so you have power play leading up to the power play.
I get that if you have the puck in the offensive zone, you're not turning it over to do that. But starting from behind your own net, there's 9 minutes left. You're down 2 goals. There's
a crazy lack of desperation in these situations. I also think when you're down 2 goals and you have the goalie pulled, and you see guys, I'm not the guy saying shoot, but you need to get the puck to the net.
Yeah.
When you're down 2 goals, you're not looking for the perfect one.
No, it's 2 guys in front and banging away, right?
So to me, it's always like, all right, if you get that first one, then we can take our time and look for that grade A or on the next one. But we need 2. We're going to need a little luck here. Let's get the puck into the net. And you see guys passing it around. And this is something I will say that when I played, this was something I was particularly good at. I scored a lot of goals late in the game. Banking pucks off goaltenders' helmets, shooting from bad angles. Like if it's going to happen, the puck has to go into the crease. Mm-hmm. That's generally a rule of thumb. And you just see a lot of looking for the perfect shot up to or down 2 goals.
I just cannot believe that, not to be, I think I'm pretty established as not being math corner guy. There's just no way that the math tells me that I'm winning a game with more likelihood that we're holding the puck behind the net, trying to regroup, trying to go down the ice, gain the zone against a team that just simply has to touch the puck for a second, and that you're going to be able to set up and extend the power play.
You're letting them get set up in their defensive structure, and that's where the problem is. I agree with you. I think that the second that they're set up, you're much better off to just go and hope that they're disorganized, or give them the puck and
give them the puck, start your power play, maximize the amount of time you have to come back, knowing that you are more likely to score on the power play than on your 6-on-5 that's starting from your own end.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a nitpick. I'm just saying that.
Either way, once they get set up, go. Just go there.
No, that's the thing. Yeah, it's like, don't go behind your net. Don't waste any time. Have some urgency. But I think there's a lot of this Leafs team that you could say have some urgency, and especially on the power play. That's the thing. Right? They need to move the puck more. They need to look a little more desperate getting it in the zone, and when they have it in the zone.
A bit there, yeah.
My favorite one of these before we go so far is Chris is going down with this 18-wheeler, which is a great but long Twitter handle name. He says, also grade 7 school bus ride home from Kingston, and after Crushed by My Crushed, I listened to What's Left of Me by Nick Lachey almost the whole ride home. What's Left of Me? That's a good one.
There's some people going through some things out there.
All right.
I did see that JD was listening to Bieber the other day, so he's going through some changes over there too. He got some Bieber music.
Get him into his Bieber defense.
I love Bieber. His new album is actually so unbelievably good. It's it's start to finish, banger, banger, banger. There's no way that you could listen to it and say you don't like it. I'm dead serious. It's like not chemically possible to listen to that Bieber album and tell me that you don't like it.
Is this where we say it's a hot take?
It's not a hot take. It's just a fact. The pop music is called pop music for a reason, and he's the best at it on the planet right now.
I did download a track or two after seeing you were listening to it, and I gotta say, you're not gonna get me on that one, man.
Yeah, okay.
No,
not for you.
No.
Thanks, Bourne.
Thanks, guys.